We have already started recording. So we can start reading every kind of solution. So what is it that he is talking about? We must be able to place this thing. So I'll read out to you the gist of what he said earlier, okay, in the para. So just 1 second. Yeah. So he's saying the integral yoga aims at the divine perfection of even the outer nature of body, life and mind. Mostly yoga does not concern itself with body, life and mind because they are absolutely at the rock bottom and they are impossible to, according to them, impossible to change. Therefore, don't bother about that. Let the soul go into the higher levels of consciousness and enjoy. Okay? And not only the liberation of the soul and the perfection of the inner being, but also a body-mind life. That's what he said in the previous paragraph. But if this is to be achieved, what is the process that will allow it to happen? That's what he's asking in the previous paragraph. Good morning, Yasmin. So, human nature is so full of defects that this question arises naturally. How to deal with all the defects of the outer nature? So then Srimad said in the previous para, the first step is the ascension to the spiritual planes and the second is the descent of consciousness, light, power, bliss into the lower nature. But our activity of the body, life and mind is located here in the physical world. And the integral yoga intends to make the lower nature also undergo a total transformation to the divine nature and not its annihilation. We are not rejecting body, mind, life, but we want to transform them. It's a very difficult work, but it has to be done. How to achieve the perfection of the imperfect? So several solutions are offered by mankind. So first one, are the activities of mind, life and body to be abandoned? That's the first suggestion. Second suggestion, are they to be replaced by spiritual consciousness? Our ordinary movements of consciousness, are they to be spiritualized? Is that possible also? Third possibility, or are they to be maintained unchanged in their outer appearance but transformed in the inner subtle being? Or the fourth one, or are they to be enlarged in their scope as happened when man appeared in evolution and improved the vital nature of the animal, of the human animal, by infusing reason of organized intelligence and refined emotion? Or again a fifth solution, or again, are we to practically abandon some elements? Should we give up, preserve those capable of spiritual change? Our mind is the best part, so we keep the mind and get rid of the body and the vital. Which method is really the best to complete the journey from the human to the divine nature? This is what he is asked in the previous one. Now he will discuss all the solutions given by man through the ages, from centuries. Everyone has come out with a solution and each solution is partially valid. So Srindu will examine those solutions. So we start reading every kind of solution. So one of you has to read. Who will read? Decide.
Shall I read?
Yeah.
Every
Archana Di can read because sometimes she has to go early, na? So let Archana Di read and then Sunki can read afterwards. Archana Di, are you in a position to read?
Yes, I'm reading, Ranga. I had just started when soon.
Okay, very good. Go ahead.
Every kind of solution has been offered from the entire abandonment of works and life, so far as that is physically possible, to the acceptance of life as it is, but with a new spirit animating and uplifting its movements, in appearance the same as they were, but changed in the spirit behind them, and therefore in their inner significance. The extreme solution insisted on by the world shunning ascetic, or the inward turned ecstatical and self oblivious mystic, is evidently foreign to the purpose of an integral yoga. For if we are to realize the divine in the world, it cannot be done by leaving aside the world action and action itself altogether. At a less high pitch, it was laid down by the religious mind in ancient times that one should keep only such actions as are in their nature part of the seeking, service, or cult of the divine, and such others as are attached to these, or, in addition, those that are indispensable to the ordinary setting of life, but done in a religious spirit and according to the injunctions of traditional religion and scripts. But this is too formalist a rule for the fulfillment of the free spirits in work, and it is besides professedly no more than a provisional solution for tiding over the transition from life in the world to a life in the beyond, which still remains the sole ultimate purpose. And integral yoga must lean rather to the Catholic injunction of the Gita that even the liberated soul, living in the truth, should still do all the works of life so that the plan of the universal evolution under a secret divine leading may not languish or suffer. But if all works are to be done with the same forms and on the same lines as they are now done in the ignorance, our gain is only inward and our life in danger of becoming the dubious and ambiguous formula of an inner light doing the works of an outer twilight, the perfect spirit expressing itself in a mold of imperfection foreign to its own divine nature. If no better can be done for a time, and during a long period of transition, something like this does inevitably happen, then so it must remain till things are ready and the spirit within is powerful enough to impose its own forms on the life of the body and the world outside. But this can be accepted only as a transitional stage and not as our soul's ideal or the ultimate goal of the passage.
Okay, so he has given many solutions that were offered in the past, and he is discussing some of them one by one. Every kind of solution has been offered, from the entire abandonment of works and life, so far as that is physically possible, to the acceptance of life as it is, but with a new spirit animating and uplifting its movements. In appearance, the same as they were, but changed in the spirit behind them, and therefore in their inner significance. So, his own solution has not been offered in this sentence. Okay, first thing, because the outward, he's saying that the outward in appearance is the same, but even in Sravana's yoga, even in appearance, it won't be the same, because the physical body will become a divine body. So even the appearance will change. So he is not applying his theory here. He is saying the Mayavadic solution, give up life, run away to the forest, don't worry. But you can't give up your life. So that's why he's saying as far as physically possible. It is not possible to give up life entirely. The ideal would be if your soul, you have realized your soul, don't worry of the physical body, mind and life, and that can die also, it doesn't make any difference to you because you are the soul and you have become liberated from the shackles and imprisonment of body, mind, life. So every kind of solution has been offered from the entire abandonment of works and life. Is that possible? So they're saying that's not absolutely possible because what they call Sharira Yatra. So far as you have a body, you have to feed it and you have to sleep. So those are physical actions and it's a work. So you can't do that. But reduce it to the minimum by going away to the forest or the cave. Okay, so that's the Mayavadic solution. So they're obviously not in favor of that. But then there is another one. To the acceptance of life. Don't reject body, mind, life. Accept life as it is, but with a new spirit, animating and uplifting its movements. In appearance, same as they were, but changed in the spirit behind them, and therefore in their inner significance. This sentence we have to understand. The yogis, for instance, in India, first of all, you have to change your inner being. Don't think that the inner being is absolutely perfect to begin with. Even your psychic consciousness, which is there inside, the psychic being is asleep. It has to be woken up. And then you have the inner being, which is the inner mind, the inner vital, and the inner physical. They are far more powerful and far purer than the outer nature of mind, life, and body. And yet, they are not perfect. So first of all, you have to make that perfect, and then only you can do the outer nature. So their outer nature, Surendra is saying that also we will do, but the solution that become inside yourself pure. Don't worry too much about the body, mind, life. So if someone looks at a yogi who is realized, a realized soul, he will see that he is doing the ordinary works. He is eating, he is sleeping, he is talking to people. So in the appearance, same. But inside, he is absolutely pure. So that's a wonderful achievement for a yogi. But Sriyanda wants to go even farther than that. Okay, so it's clear what he's saying, na? And this you must understand that there is an inner being and an outer being. We don't make a distinction between them, but the inner being has to be made pure first, and then only the outer being can be made. Okay? So, inner being is the inner mind, the inner vital, and the inner physical, which is the subtle physical. Even that has to be made pure. And once you have done that, it's easier to tackle the other ones. And usually uh, there are two solutions to the problem of your ignorance. Number one, get away and don't worry at all about the body mind life. Number two, no, don't reject body mind life, but make your inner being perfect and live in the imperfect body mind life you live. But as far as possible, don't be subject to the uh, negative impacts of the physical world on you. Try to be as pure as possible. So these are the two solutions he has discussed here. Now,
Rangana,
tell me.
for doing Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga, we have to go through this passage, no?
Yes, absolutely.
So this one, so we have to start. We have to start from this
Yes,
first.
absolutely. Yeah. You can't go to Srivamdana Yoga without going through this. You can't
Yes,
go
so,
to knowledge without going through kindergarten. So, yeah, you have to.
so this is part of Sri Aurobindo's yoga also. It can be
Yes,
called.
absolutely. He is talking of the aim. No? The aim is to finally make absolutely, but he is not telling you that you skip this. There is no double promotion in yoga. You have to go through all the steps. He says that very clearly elsewhere also. You are right, absolutely right. First of all, you have to purify your inner being. Then you have to try and do the other one. That is the reason why first is to get the psychic being into your outer nature. And when the soul comes out, then it is possible to a certain extent to purify your mind and your vital and your. But the body will not become purified absolutely and become a divine body, but that is the first step. Okay? So he is talking of the other solutions. So, but that's the first step. You are right. But he doesn't agree with the escaping. But even the escaping, that's the first step. You have to escape, you have to get rid of your identification with body, mind, life, and that is what the Mayavad and the ascetic is doing. So that's the first step. But the second step is ascetic is disappearing without paying attention to body, mind, life. Srivamdana says now come down with that pure consciousness into the body, mind, life and don't reject it. That is the solution, the second one that he is talking about. Okay? In appearance, outside you will be the same, and nobody will know that you are in a higher consciousness, except those who are in a similar consciousness. They will be able to recognize you, but others won't recognize you at all. Okay? So that's the second step. But the inner being is pure, but the outer, the old nature will continue. Your old habits of the body, your even you can get angry also. Those things are there, but Srivamdana wants even that to go away. But that is much later on. It goes gradually, step by step. So here he has discussed two solutions: escape from the body, mind, life, and realize your soul. That's number one. Srivamdana doesn't agree with that. The second one, don't reject body, mind, life, but change your inner being and continue to live in the physical world. That's somewhat like the Gita's solution. Don't run away. Be in the water, but try and be not affected inwardly by by the wrong influences in the physical world. Let not falsehood, okay, hate and all these things affect you. Be like the lotus leaf in water. That's it. Gita is the solution. But Sri Aurobindo says even that has to change. Even the body-mind life has to change. Gita's solution is inwardly you are not disturbed. If you look very carefully, you will see that inwardly first you get highly disturbed. Okay? The second stage, in the first stage yoga is inwardly you are not going to be disturbed. So those who have achieved that, sometimes it happens like this, that there's a provocation and you get angry, but inside you are absolutely calm and you wonder, why the hell am I getting angry? I'm not angry, I'm very cool inside. So that's one that he is talking about. Inner being has to become absolutely calm, pure, and without being affected by anything. So I go to now to the next one. Sentence. The extreme solution insisted on by the world-shunning ascetic or the inward-turned ecstatical and self-oblivious mystic is evidently foreign to the purpose of an integral yoga. So he is discussing both the solutions. You can see the first one, extreme solution insisted on by the world-shunning ascetic is the one he rejects body-mind life. That is not applicable to the integral yoga. Or the second solution, the inward turned ecstatical and self-oblivious mystic. Okay? Inward turned ecstatical is the bhakta, the one who has got ecstasy, but inside himself. Okay? Inside, inward turned ecstatical, bhakti. And the self-oblivious mystic. The self-oblivious mystic is the Jnana Yoga. He is not even aware of his body-mind life. He has completely forgotten that he is a body-mind life. He is in the consciousness of the spiritual consciousness. He is evidently, even that is not acceptable to Sri Aurobindo. He is evidently foreign to the purpose of an integral yoga. For if we are to realize the divine in the world, which he is constantly hammering, that the physical world also has to be divinized. Okay? It cannot be done by leaving aside the world action and action itself altogether. How can we do that? You can't. Then, at a less high pitch, it was laid down by the religious mind in ancient times that one should keep only such actions as are in their nature part of the seeking, service, or cult of the divine, and such others as are attached to these, or in addition, those that are indispensable to the ordinary setting of life, but done in a religious spirit and according to the injunctions of traditional religion and scripture. We'll look at this sentence. So he's saying, at a less higher pitch, at a less high pitch, slightly less. That's a religious solution. And what is the religious solution? Do only those works in the physical world which are relevant to your spiritual life. You can go to the temple, you can do puja, but you need not play football. You need not do business. You need not sell beedies. Those things you need not. I'm talking of beedies because there was a gentleman he died in the 80s in Bombay. He used to sell beedies. I forget his name now, but he had reached the self. He was living in Bombay. What's his name? I forget now. But anyway, so that also is possible. So the religious solution, don't do things which are not related to the divine consciousness. No need of playing football, no need of doing business, no need of doing anything. Do only those things which are necessary, and so you can go to the temple, you can do puja, you can collect flowers, all that is okay, and offer to the divine. These things are possible. But there's something else also, eating and sleeping. You can't avoid eating and sleeping, so that much is allowed. That's what he's saying. Okay? At a less high pitch, it was laid down by the religious mind in ancient times that one should keep only such actions as are in their nature part of the seeking. Going to the temple is okay, going to church is okay, going to the masjid is okay. Service or cult. Service, yeah. You can engage also in acts of charity, because that's also, you are doing it for the divine, so that's possible. Or such others as are attached to these. For instance, if you think that it is very noble to help the poor, you can do that. That's much less at a less higher pitch editing. Okay, so or in addition, those that are indispensable to the ordinary setting of life. The indispensable to the ordinary setting of life is actually eating and sleeping and putting on clothes. Of course, the Jains go so far as to say even clothes is not necessary. Okay, so that much is necessary. So you can do that. This you have to do. There is the third solution which is offered by religion and scripture. But Sri Aurobindo says, but this is too formalist a rule for the fulfillment of the free spirited works. It will not end in the aim that we have. The integral yoga cannot be satisfied with such a small aim. And it is besides professedly no more than a provisional solution for tiding over the transition from life in the world to a life in the beyond. Because if you are doing that, going to the church and doing puja and all that, it's not necessarily going to release you, it's only the first stage. It can lead you to the next stage. So it's a transition, it's a provisional solution, the first solution. So it's okay for those who are not yet developed. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Transition from life in the world to a life in the beyond, which still remains the sole ultimate purpose. Now he comes to the integral yoga. An integral yoga must lean rather on the Catholic injunction of the Gita that even the liberated soul living in the truth should still do all the works of life so that the plan of the universal evolution under a secret divine leading may not languish or suffer. So in the Gita there are two things or three words which Sri Aurobindo is using here in this sentence. Loka sangrahanartham, okay, and sarva bhuta hite rata. You are engaged in the good of all creatures. You are not rejecting that. You are doing that, and also loka sangrahanartham. The divine has created the world and he has created everything in the world. So why do you want to reject those activities also? So continue to do what you are supposed to do, but with a totally different attitude. The others are saying don't do. Change yourself inwardly, but don't do anything else except going to, as I said, going to the temple and doing puja. But Sri Aurobindo is saying you can do other works also. That's a Gita solution. Okay? If you are a doctor, continue to do your practice. If you are an engineer, continue to do your job. That's the Gita solution. And you need not, because then you will be, if you do those things, you are going against the divine command, because he has created everything. So you must participate in everything that he has done. That's a Gita solution. But Sri Aurobindo now, third solution, even that lower attitude has to change. Even when you are practicing, when you are doing your job, even that has to be done for the divine. So he has given you 4 gradations. The first gradation, reject the physical world. Second gradation, don't reject the physical world, but change your inner being. Third solution, change your inner being, but don't worry too much about the outer. Now the fourth solution, change your inner being and continue to remain in the physical world. So the integral yoga must lean rather. He's not saying follow. He's saying lean rather. Reject the other 3 solutions and adopt the Gita solution. But you have to go beyond the Gita also. An integral solution must lean rather. Okay, note that. He is not saying that you accept the Gitas fully. An integral yoga must lean rather on the Catholic injunction, very wide-minded, of the Gita, that even the liberated soul, living in the truth, you have realized the soul, you have realized yourself, should still do the works of life so that the plan of the universal evolution under a secret divine leading may not languish or suffer. The divine is doing everything in the physical world. Why do you want to negate that? He is creating animals, he is creating trees, he is creating everything. He is even creating storms and floods. He is creating everything. So you participate in everything. But so that the Loka Sankaranartham, the world is maintained in its action. Whatever the world is being maintained by the divine action, that you have to see that you don't contradict that. That's what he is saying. May not languish or suffer. But, I am reading the next sentence. But if all works are to be done with the same forms and on the same lines as they are now done in the ignorance, our gain is only inward, and our life is in danger of becoming dubious and ambiguous, a formula of an inner light doing the works of an outer twilight. See, even the Gita solution exactly this. Inner light, you are perfect within, you are pure in, but in the physical world, your actions are not fully enlightened because there is a twilight, half light. Many of your actions will become motiveless and pure, okay, but not fully. That's what he's saying. The twilight means half light. No? So, evening time and morning time, the twilight comes. So that's a half light. So this is the Gita solution. Formula of an inner light doing the works of an outer twilight. Not fully ignorant, but semi-illumined. The perfect spirit expressing itself in a mold of imperfection, foreign to its own divine nature. This is the solution that the Gita has given. Up to that stage you can go. The Gita doesn't say give up the physical world. Remain in the physical world and try to do the works of the divine without giving up anything, although your outer nature may be imperfect for some time. Outer nature, body, mind, life will be imperfect, doesn't matter. It is half twilight, not full ignorance. If no better can be done for a time, and during a long period of transition, something like this does inevitably happen. That means what? When you have realized your soul and you don't leave the physical world, you see that there is a great difference between your inner being and the outer nature. This is discussed in great detail elsewhere. Okay, you feel yourself to be the Purusha, but your Prakriti is something quite different. And this division between Purusha and Prakriti, the soul and the body, mind, life, continues right up to the overmind level. You see two things. Only when you have get glimpses of the supramental world, then you see that no, it can become perfect also. The body, mind, life also can become perfect. So that's what he's saying. If no better can be done for a time, and during a long period of transition, something like this does inevitably happen, that means there is a difference between the pure inner being and the semi-imperfect being as a body, mind, life, the outer nature. Not fully, but semi. Then, so it must remain if things are ready and the spirit within is powerful enough to impose its own forms on the law, on the life of the body and the world outside. So again, he is stressing here life of the body for the individual, but also the evolution in the physical world. He is constantly associated to. The individual is linked with the universe, and both must progress. This is an idea that he goes on hammering. Okay? It's not enough for the individual to escape. The world also must benefit. But this can be accepted only as a transitional stage and not as our soul's ideal or the ultimate goal of the passage. So even the best solution offered by the Gita is not enough for the integral yoga. For the integral yoga, even absolutely the outer nature also must become divine. Maybe it has not yet happened fully in the physical world, but that also will happen one day. Many yogis have perfected their mind and even their vital. But the body, the base, the material world, it has not changed. It is absolutely, the body has to continue to eat, it has to continue to sleep. Okay, it's a very material, gross substance. And that has not yet changed. But one day it will change. That's what he's saying. So, we have 15 minutes, so we can read the next one. Huh? So, he has given you 4 or 5 solutions here. Number 1, reject the physical world. Number 2, don't reject the physical world, but change your inner being. Okay? Don't reject it, change your inner being. The third solution, the religious solution, do at a lesser pitch. Don't try for such a high thing, it's difficult, but just do the works of the which religion and scripture is allowing you to go to the temple, okay, and do puja, all these things, but don't do other things which are unnecessary. And in the Gita solution, do those outer actions also, even if they are imperfect. Do it. It's your body-mind life may be twilight. It may not be perfect, but doesn't matter. Don't give up the physical world. Then Srimdo's final solution, even the outer has to be perfect. Okay. Now we can read the next one. For the same reason, the ethical solution is sufficient. So let's read it.
For the
For
same
the same
reason,
reason, yeah, read.
the ethical solution is insufficient. For an ethical rule merely puts a bit in the mouth of the wild horses of nature and exercises over them a difficult and partial control, but it has no power to transform nature so that she may move in a secure freedom, fulfilling the intuitions that proceed from a divine self-knowledge. At best, its method is to lay down limits, to coerce the devil to put the wall of a relative and very doubtful safety around us. This or some similar device of self-protection may be necessary for a time, whether in ordinary life or in yoga. But in yoga, it can only be the mark of transition. A fundamental transformation and a pure whiteness of spiritual life are the aim before us, and if we are to reach it, we must find a deeper solution, a shorter supra-ethical dynamic principle. To be spiritual within, ethical in the outside life, this is the ordinary religious solution, but it is a compromise. The spiritualization of both the inward being and the outward life, and not a compromise between life and the spirit, is the goal of which we are the seekers. Nor can the human confusion of values, which obliterates the distinction between spiritual and moral, and even claims that the moral is the only true spiritual element in our nature, be of any use to us. For ethics is a mental control, and the limited erring mind is not and cannot be the free and ever luminous spirit. It is equally impossible to accept the gospel that makes life the one aim, takes its elements fundamentally as they are, and only calls in a half-spiritual or pseudo-spiritual light to flush and embellish it. Inadequate, too, is the very frequent attempt at miscellaneous between the vital and the spiritual. A mystic experience within, with an aestheticized intellectual and sensuous paganism, or exalted hedonism outside leaning upon it and satisfying itself in the glow of a spiritual sanction. For this too is a precarious and never successful compromise, and it is as far from the divine truth and its integrality as the Puritanic opposite. These are all stumbling solutions of the fallible human mind groping for a transaction between the high spiritual summits and the lower pitch of the ordinary mind motives and life motives. Whatever partial truth may be hidden behind them, that truth can only be accepted when it has been raised to the spiritual level, tested in the supreme truth consciousness, and extricated from the soil and error of the ignorance.
It's quite a complicated para with a lot of ideas and very subtle things. So we'll have to discuss that. It is 26. We have about 9 minutes left. Okay, so anyway, we'll try. We'll start. Okay. Now he's talking of the ethical solution. This is a normal man. He talks of being moral. Okay, and there are many ideas which say morality is the best that you can live in life. They don't even have an idea of spirituality. So spiritual is the soul and its laws. But the ethical or the moral, which is the same thing, ethics and morality, are mind-made rules. The mind is telling you don't do this. The mind is telling you don't do this. These are the mind-made rules. Obviously the mind is imperfect, therefore the rules also are imperfect. Okay, that's what he's discussing. But we'll see what he's saying, and we have to also identify what are the moral methods. Okay. Now, I'm reading each sentence. We may not be able to finish the para, but we'll start. for the same reason that it is not enough. For the same reason, these attempts are not enough. The ethical solution is insufficient. That's the reason. We want absolute sufficiency in the intellectual. The ethical solution is insufficient. For an ethical rule merely puts a bit in the mouth of the wild horses. He is using an image. A bit in the mouth of the wild horses is when you control either cows or buffaloes or wild animals. That's what you do. You put a lagam, okay? And then you control by putting it in the mouth like that, opposite, and it pulls, and you give directions to the animal by pulling one side or the other side, animal stopping. Okay? You train the animal. So what it means is, and which are the wild horses in man? The senses. The senses which are always running out. Note interestingly that all the senses are looking outwards, not inwards. And that is the reason why they are running outside all the time. And that's the reason why the outside world is 10 times more real to us than the inner world. There's only one sense in you which goes inward, and that's your mind. Not even the physical mind, not even the vital mind. They also run outside. But the pure mind can look within itself. You can examine yourself, you can become objective about yourself with a pure mind, not with the physical mind or the vital mind. That they look outside, they will justify the action that you are doing. But the pure mind can be objective, it's possible. But the morality is saying, control your wild horses, control your senses. Don't let them go wildly running all over the place. So it's obviously a control, and the control is not enough. Okay? The wild horse remains a wild horse. The moment you give up the control, they go back to their crookednesses. That's what it is. Putting a bit in the mouth of the wild horse of nature and exercising over them a difficult and partial control. The control is difficult, but even it's not even full, partial control. But it has no power to transform nature so that she may move in a secure freedom, fulfilling the intuitions that proceed from a divine self-knowledge. So morality does not take you very far. It only controls the senses but does not transform them. Okay? So if you are transforming the inner being, then the intuitions can come to you. That's what Sadhguru is saying. In a secure freedom, fulfilling the intuitions that proceed from a divine self-knowledge. So the moment your morality is not enough, you have to go to the spiritual level. At best, its method is to lay down limits. Don't go beyond this limit. To coerce the devil is the one that makes you do all sorts of wrong things. So keep him in control. You can't eliminate him, but keep him in control. There is a moral idea. To put the wall of a relative and very doubtful safety around us. Build a wall against the wrong actions and just remain within the walls of a right action as far as possible. It's a half solution, but better than nothing at all. Its method is, at its best, its method is to lay down limits. Don't cross the line. You can do this much. To coerce the devil, to put the wall of a relative and very doubtful safety around us. This is some similar device of self-protection, may be necessary for a time, whether in ordinary life or in yoga. This is very similar to if you don't protect yourself, okay, then you will be subject to all sorts of things. So this is very similar to when the municipality is putting trees on the footpath, okay. It has to protect it with a fence. In the beginning, you will always see that they are protected by a fence, because if you don't, the animals grazing all over, cows and goats will come and eat it up. So exactly in the same way, you have to also protect yourself. So although it is imperfect, morality is the first step. It may be necessary sometimes to do that. That's what Sadhguru is saying. It is necessary. This or some similar device of self-protection may be necessary. However imperfect it is, it can always help. Self-control, Sadhguru is not saying self-control has no value at all. He is saying that it has a semi-value. And if you need to use it by all means. This or some similar device of self-protection may be necessary for a time, whether in ordinary life or in yoga. Even ordinary life also, you can't let your ego go beyond the limit. You have to keep it under control. Because if your ego goes beyond the limit, not in yoga but ordinary life, the others will pounce on you and pummel you. Okay, so you will suffer. If you go too egoistic, you will get the result in the physical world. Someone will come and slap you. Another thing, you will get a tap sur le nez. Someone will come and hit you. You can't constantly assert yourself. So morality, control yourself. Control, but not transform. But in yoga, it can only be a mark of a transition. Yes, morality is the first step. Change yourself, and then, as they say in Raj Yoga, na, yama and niyama, they are the first steps. They are moral. Don't tell lies. Okay, be clean. Don't be aggressive. Don't be greedy. Don't be possessive. These are all the first steps. So this is necessary thing. A fundamental transform. What is the time? 3:33. So a fundamental transformation and a pure wideness of spiritual life are the aim before us. Who is the us? The one who is wanting to do integral yoga. And if we are to reach it, we must find a deeper solution, a surer supra-ethical dynamic principle. We have to not use morality, but we have to go beyond morality. Supra-ethical dynamic principle. And dynamic, not passive, because you have to have the power to transform your body, mind, life. So that's it has to be dynamic principle. And what is that dynamic principle? He will tell you. Appeal to the Divine Mother, it is dynamic. To be spiritual within, ethical in the outside life, this is the ordinary religious solution. But it's a compromise. The spiritualization of both the inward being and the outward life, and not a compromise between life and the spirit, is a goal of which we are the seekers. So, the integral yoga wants to have a complete harmony between spirit and the body, mind, life, between the Purusha consciousness and the Prakriti consciousness. The Prakriti consciousness, your outer nature of body, life and mind. So there has to be a complete harmony between them. Not easy, but that's the aim in the integral yoga. I think we'll stop here today and we'll continue from the beginning, because the rest of it, there's some very interesting things which he's saying, and we'll have to look at those things very carefully. So, page 137, we are in the middle. Nor can the human confusion of values. We'll start from there next time. Okay? So, Sunki has to note down, middle of the paragraph, page 137, nor can the human confusion. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So, we'll stop here today.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay, au revoir everybody. Au revoir.
Thank you, Rangana.
Yeah, au revoir everybody. Tarika has gone to the kindergarten with the children. She put up a notice now, you saw that. Pallavi, Sonki, Yasmin and Archana Di. Au revoir. And Shilpa.